Alright, what's going on YouTube? So coming to you tonight with a knife review of the Quartermaster Qtr6. This is the TT version, or the Texas T. Just the TT means the different finish of the knife. Just kind of want to give a little background about this company a little bit. I mentioned it briefly in my unboxing video, but I've had a few people on Instagram, a few places say, I've never heard of this knife, never heard of this company. So they're kind of a newer company on the scene. I would say their most famous knives, they have a couple of karambits that are pretty popular. One's like a butterfly knife karambit, which is kind of unique. So their designs are very unique, and they're kind of have a love-hate kind of thing. You're either gonna love them or you're gonna hate them. A little bit background on the company. They're out of Central Texas, and they have their names of their knives. I mean, this is called the QTR6, but it's also called the Orville Rick Wright. Now, you 80s childs, you 80s children like me would know what that's from. That's from Magnum PI, and Rick Wright was one of Magnum PI's war buddies. So kind of fun. They have some of their knives named after some members of the A-Team, stuff like that. So pretty fun. It's pretty fun stuff. It's unique. I really dig that part of it. It's pretty funny. I had about 8 models to choose from, and one thing that's cool is they do give a lifetime warranty on all their knives, and I've heard nothing but good things about their customer service from those that have had to experience it. So that's always a good thing for a knife company. They're building a good reputation for themselves, which is always good. And excuse my voice, I have a little bit of a cold, kind of a sore throat going on, so and you might hear me clear my throat a few times, so I apologize. That's kind of annoying. So, but the QTR6 was the one that really kind of stood out to me. Had a chance to handle one of the QTR6 down at Blade HQ, and it was just a cool knife. It's very different. It has a lot of cool design elements, and that's kind of one thing they mentioned on their website, is they were kind of going for a certain type of design element. To me, it's a futuristic, which is one thing they said, but to me also it's kind of like an industrial, maybe like a Fallout type. I mean, this finish especially, the Fallout universe type things, it just kind of reminds me of that. So, but they're definitely very thick, overbuilt knives. I mean, all their knives are like this. They're overbuilt. They're large. Normally, they don't make too many small ones. They call this one their most EDC friendly, which I do agree. It is a bit heavy on the heavy side, and that's one of the things I'll get to a little bit later. But they're kind of similar to. I mean, they get good presentation when they send you the knife, obviously. But they're kind of similar to Browse blades. How Jason kind of does, like, people call his knives mid-tech, some call them production, but they do like limited runs. This one was, and this is similar to what Jason does with these authentication. Wow, I cannot talk. Authentication certificate. Thank you. This is number 1 of 300 in this finish, the Texas T finish, and it's just kind of cool how I like the little touches like that. But it makes me think, they only made 300 of these knives. That's a pretty limited run, So they're all made in the U.S. down there in Central Texas. So I don't know if you call them mid-techs, if you call them production knives, what you'd call them. They kind of fall in that gray area, I think. They're not mass-produced like a Kershaw or a Spyderco. You're not going to find them at Walmart or a big box store. You're only going to find them through exclusive dealers like Blade HQ, Razor Sharp Unlimited, something like that. And they also sell the knives on their website, and that's actually how I got this. They did a Black Friday sale that was like 50% off, and I had to jump on it because I've been really interested in the knife, but I was kind of holding off the price point. When I got that deal, I had to jump on it, and I'm really glad I did. I've really been enjoying it. I've been carrying it off and on for about the last 8 days. What I like so much about this knife, I think, is the design elements of it more than anything. It's just different. It's just cool looking. You look at it and you're like, man, that is just bad A looking. Like, it's just a beast. It's thick. I mean, look at that thick stainless steel scale. I mean, the overall thickness of the knife, I mean the width I should say, not the thick. Well, I guess the thickness would work too, but is what, like just under a ½ inch thick. And that's pretty good size for a knife, for a pocket knife. So it's not slim. It's not one that's going to slide into your pocket and you're going to forget about it. It's, you know, it's there. It does have that nice clip. I do like the clip a lot on the knife. It's also got a great fit and finish. I mean, I'm just looking at it, you can't really see anything that, you know, it's a well put together knife, and you can tell they're hand assembled, and you know they're not mass produced, and you can tell just by looking at them. Really dig the finish. Like I said, it's like Bleety. I'm having a hard time speaking tonight. ZT's black wash finish, very, very similar. Looks really cool. The thing that you look at these knives and they don't look like they'd be very ergonomic. They almost look uncomfortable, but they're surprisingly ergonomic. I mean, it's really comfortable to hold in hand, even as wide as it is. It just fits my hand real nicely. It's ergonomic. You got good jimping. The jimping is very usable. It's not overly aggressive. It's a very ergonomic knife. It's surprising how ergonomic the knife is. The steel that they use on this is BD4 steel, which is a carpenter steel. It's not something I'm very familiar with. I don't know of too many companies that make knives out of that steel. That's pretty much most of their knives are made of. It is a high carbon and high chromium content steel, and the Rockwell hardness is about 60 to 61. It's supposedly known for its edge retention and ease of sharpening and polishing. And this edge is the factory edge, so it's got a pretty good polish. I mean, it's picking up that light really well. It's got a pretty good polish from the factory. I haven't even touched it. It hasn't needed it. It's really sharp. I mean, it cuts foam paper. No issues there. Haven't needed to sharpen it. So, and who knows how easy it'll be to sharpen. It might be more difficult because it does have it's a little bit harder of a steel, and it does have really good edge retention. So we'll see how it is to sharpen. But that's the type of steel. It wasn't something I was really familiar with, but did a little research. It's a carpenter steel. I know Spyderco's been using a lot of carpenter steels in their knives lately, so I'm sure it's a really good steel. I don't have any doubt on that. The pocket clip is tip up, left or right hand carry only, but it is lefty friendly. It's a deep carry clip, but you do have, that much of your knife showing, so it's not, I don't know, it's kind of funny. But it's not, it's part of the design. You couldn't really, with the type, they use these huge bolts. They're really cool, actually. I mean, to take this knife apart, you need I think it's a 10-bit, 9 or a 10-bit. And you need like a Allen wrench, pretty good sized Allen wrench to even get this knife open. So it's really overbuilt. So it's part of the design element of the clip. It works well though. I don't mind a little knife. It's at least you got something to grab onto to get it out of your pocket. And the clip works really well. It's got good retention, but it's not too stiff. That's one of my big pet peeves is when they make them way too stiff. And this does the job really well. So no, definitely like the clip on that. They do have a really smooth action. They are on bearings. They call it their orb bearing system, and after I took the knife apart, it's just basically a caged bearing, similar to what Spyderco uses on the Spyderco Southern, the Domino. It's just a caged bearing. It's kind of similar to like ZT's, KVT. They're all pretty similar technologies. It's definitely smooth. This blade is super, super thick. I mean, look at that. It's pretty good size. Kind of tapers down a little bit. So it's a pretty hefty blade, so it definitely needs that bearing, I think, to open well. But it's got a smooth action. It's not I'm not gonna say it's the best flipper out there or the smoothest, but it's definitely very nice. Excuse me. Get a drink of water here, and we're coming up on 10 minutes here, so try to wrap it up a little bit. Any cons on the knife? The one con I will say is the blade to handle ratio is not optimal. I'm kind of nitpicky about that. For this size handle, I'd like to see more than, it's just a 3-inch blade. I'd like to see more like 3.5 inches, 3.25 at least. But they couldn't really accomplish that with the way this knife is put together. Let's see if you can see that. it's got this, I mean, these huge barrel spacers. They're, you know, back spacer, or standoffs. I cannot think for a second there. I'm seriously like drugged up on medication right now. So standoffs are huge, so it would be difficult to get more blade in there just because of how big they are. So to get a better blade to handle ratio, you would have to you know, kind of give up some of the design elements. And for me, that's what really attracted me to this knife, is the design elements, how different it is. And so I'm okay with it. You know, it's at least a 3-inch blade. I wouldn't want anything smaller than that. So, and the weight is a little hefty. It weighs 6.4 ounces. It's a stainless steel frame lock, so it's pretty hefty. It's a big, burly, thick knife. But yeah, I like that about it. It's not like gonna be. Some people wouldn't EDC this knife because of its weight and its size and how thick it is, but I just like the way it feels in my hand. It feels, you know, it's ergonomic, but it just feels, you know, beefy and just overbuilt and feels like it's meant to be used. One thing I was noticing when I was holding it, I was holding it like this, and it's so thick and this is so hard. You could really use this end of the knife as, you know, some sort of striking, like a striking device in a self-defense situation. If you could get the blade deployed, you know, it's beefy and it's solid. I mean, that would really, it'd be a very effective striking tool. I can tell you that right now. That would crack someone's skull for sure. It's hefty. So, you know, I thought about that. That is one use you could get out of the knife also. So it'd definitely be a good defensive folder if you ever were to use a knife like that. I don't ever plan on doing that, but if I had to, at least I know this one would do the job. You know, as an EDC knife, it's going to definitely be in my rotation, but it's not something I'd carry every day for like a long period of time. It wouldn't be something you could carry in slacks or like a really lightweight shorts, or, I mean, shorts you could do just fine, but you know, like, you know, I'm talking all dress pants, stuff like that. This wouldn't be a choice for that. So, but it was never designed to be a gentleman's folder. But some people EDC stuff, you know, that's what they wear every day to work, and this wouldn't really work too well for that. It's definitely more of a jeans type carry. So the weight is kind of a negative, but I like it. It makes it feel substantial and overbuilt, and that's kind of what the design of the knife is. So, you know, I think if you're buying this knife, you're not buying it because it's going to be a good EDC blade. I think you're buying it because you like the design of the knife. You like the way it looks. You like the way it feels in hand. You know, it just looks different. It's unique. And yeah, I really dig it. Definitely going to be in my EDC rotation. I was kind of on the fence of it at first, but the more I've carried it, the more I've liked it. The G10 is pretty aggressive, but not overly aggressive. It may tear up your pockets a bit, but it's not too bad. I like it looks like it's a gray G10. Almost looks like it has a green hue to it though. It goes well with the black wash. I really dig that. Or excuse me, I just use ZT's thing. The Texas tea is what they're calling it. Texas black tea. So USA manufactured. Right there. A 1 of 300. Pretty sweet. Number 1. You got the dual thumb studs, which I don't ever use. It's a flipper. You really don't even need them, and they don't work as a blade stop, so they're really not even needed. They're just designed. They're there for design. You can open it with the thumb studs, just no problem, and you could actually probably even remove one of these. They do come off. You just have a hole in the blade there. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's going to wrap up the review of the Quartermaster Qtr6 TT, Texas T configuration. Definitely digging it. It's definitely unique. If they're a company, I think that's going to be on the rise. You're going to see more and more. They've got some really unique, cool designs, and I think they're going to be one of those companies, like I said, that people are either going to really like or they're not going to care for. And you know, that's, for me, I like how different they are. They're not your typical run-of-the-mill looking knife. They are unique. So I think that's it. I definitely recommend the knife if you're on the fence about it. Definitely check one out. Their website sells knives and they sell it for pretty much MSRP, but I know Blade HQ can get a little bit better deal on the price of the knives. I got it for such a steal for Black Friday that it's definitely worth it to me. So you kind of got to decide for yourself if it's worth the money. I know a lot of people have been wishing they were titanium frame locks, but I don't want to say I'm over titanium frame locks. I do like titanium frame locks, but I don't think it's the end-all be-all. I do love my ZT566, and it's also a stainless steel frame lock. So, alright guys, that's going to be it for tonight, and we'll see you next time. Please like the video, share it if you wouldn't mind, and any comments or questions, leave them down below. And have a Merry Christmas.